Take this ring, my daughter, and when you get home, make a wish.
Agatha lived with her mother, Okri, in a beautiful village called Obinepa. The village was known for its wide green farmland, tall trees that danced when the wind blew, long smooth roads made from red earth, and bright houses with painted walls that shone under the sun. Every morning, the birds in the trees sang loudly as if they were greeting everyone in the village. The sky always looked big and blue, like it wanted to cover the whole world. People in Obinepa knew each other well, and everyone liked to smile when they walked past their neighbors. Even when someone had a problem, they still greeted kindly. It was the kind of village where the air felt clean, the trees shook gently, and the children played happily in the open fields. Inside this lovely village was Agatha's small home. It was simple, clean, and neat because her mother made sure everything was always in order. Agatha was an only child. Her father had died when she was just 5 years old. She was too young at that time to understand what death meant. But she grew up hearing her mother talk about how hardworking and kind he was. Sometimes, when her mother talked about him, her eyes would become soft and sad. Agatha would sit beside her and hold her hand, even though she herself did not have many memories of him. Life had not been easy for them, but Agatha's mother worked very hard. She farmed, she fetched firewood, she harvested crops, she sold vegetables at the market. She did everything she could to make sure her daughter never lacked anything important. Because of her mother's strength, Agatha respected her deeply. She always tried to help out at home without complaining. Many people in the village knew them and always said Agatha was a well-trained girl. Agatha was 16 years old. She was tall with smooth brown skin that glowed under the sun. Her eyes were bright, her face soft and beautiful. She had full natural hair that her mother helped her comb every weekend. People always admired how long and healthy it was. Some women even asked, "How do you people take care of this hair?" And her mother would laugh and say, "It is God's gift." But Agatha did not really care about beauty. She cared more about school. She read every day, even when she was tired. She loved learning new things. When she walked on the village road, people often saw her holding her school books to her chest. Sometimes, mothers would point at her and tell their own daughters, "Be like her, she loves her book." Even her teachers knew she was special. They always praised her for paying attention in class. Some students felt that Agatha studied too much, but she did not mind. She had a dream of becoming someone great in the future. She did not know exactly what she wanted to become yet, but she knew she wanted to leave the village one day, study in a big school, and make her mother really, really proud. Her mother also encouraged her. "Agatha," she would say every night, "your books are your future. If you read well now, tomorrow will be good for you." And Agatha always nodded seriously because she believed every word her mother said. One thing about Agatha was that her mind worked very fast. She was very smart. She was the type of girl who could be cooking beans in the kitchen while solving mathematics in her head. One time, she was sweeping the compound and thinking about how to answer a difficult biology question. Another time, she was washing plates and repeating her English notes softly. Her mother would sometimes look at her and shake her head. "One day, your brain will burst with all this reading," her mother would joke. Agatha would laugh. "It will not burst, Mama. It will only get sharper." Her mother would laugh back and say, "As long as you still remember you are my daughter and not one big professor in your head." Life was peaceful and calm for them, but December was approaching. In Obinepa village, December was never quiet. It was the time when everyone was expecting Christmas. People cleaned their houses, swept their compounds, washed their clothes, cooked plenty of food, and waited for their relatives who lived in the city to return home for the festive season. It was a time of joy. Everywhere Agatha walked, She could smell Christmas in the air. The village children were already chasing each other around, singing Christmas songs and beating small drums made from things. Women were sun-drying rice outside their houses. Men were sharpening their cutlasses for farm clearing before the new year. Even the goats in the village seemed happy as they jumped around. Some early morning days, you could hear church choirs practicing. Their voices rose into the sky like soft music. But despite all the excitement, Agatha was still focused on her books. If drums were beating loudly outside, she continued reading. If children were dancing and laughing on the road, she walked past calmly with her book in her hand. If her friends were gossiping about boys or Christmas parties, Agatha just smiled and went home. Even her mother noticed. "Aggie," she said one evening as she entered the house. "Christmas is coming. At least smile small." "I am smiling, Mama," Agatha replied without looking up from her mathematics book. "You call that one smile?" her mother said, laughing lightly. "Your face is tight like someone who swallowed hot pepper." Agatha finally looked up and laughed. "I just don't want to fail my exams. When school opens again, they will give us tests. I want to be ready." Her mother nodded. "I know, and I'm proud of you. But life is not book alone. Sometimes look up and breathe." "I will, Mama, after I finish this topic." Her mother shook her head lovingly. This girl will read inside her dreams one day. But Agatha continued reading because she enjoyed it. She liked the way the numbers made sense. She liked the way long English passages sounded when she read them out loud. She liked the way new things entered her mind and stayed there. For her, learning was fun. The village around her was full of excitement as Christmas drew nearer. There were colorful decorations hanging from trees. Most of the houses painted their walls newly, making the whole community shine. Children talked about new clothes their mothers promised to buy. Boys talked about firecrackers they wanted to explode on Christmas Day. Girls talked about hairstyles they wanted to make. The air even smelled sweet because women were cooking almost every day. Rice, stew, meat, chicken, spices, everything mixed in the breeze. Sometimes the smell was so strong that you did not need to eat to feel full. But Agatha did not allow the smell to distract her. She kept her books closed. One afternoon, her mother looked at her from the doorway and smiled. Agatha was sitting outside on a wooden bench, holding her book open with one hand and peeling yam with the other hand. Her eyes were on the book the whole time, not on the yam. Her mother said, "Aggie, are you not afraid you will cut your hand one day?" Agatha looked up surprised. "No, Mama, I know what I'm doing." Her mother laughed loudly. "You know what you are doing? You are peeling yam without looking at it. If the yam could talk, it would shout, 'Leave me alone.'" Agatha laughed. "Mama, I am used to it." Her mother walked closer and touched her shoulder. "I wish your father could see you now. He would be very proud." Agatha's smile softened. She always loved hearing that. "I hope he is watching from heaven," she said quietly. "He is," her mother replied, "and I am watching too." They both smiled, and for a moment everything felt warm and peaceful. Later that day, after finishing her chores, Agatha sat at the small wooden table in their living room. She opened her exercise book and began to practice her handwriting. She wrote slowly, carefully, shaping every letter neatly. Her mother sat nearby, sorting out vegetables for the next day. Her mother looked at her and said, "My daughter, you work so hard. One day God will reward you." Agatha nodded. "I just want to pass my exams well. I want to make life easier for you, Mama." Her mother touched her gently. "You already make me proud every day." Outside, villagers were still preparing for the festive days ahead. Some boys were climbing trees to cut palm fronds for decoration. Some girls were washing clothes and spreading them on the line. People were polishing their shoes, washing their curtains, and sweeping their compounds loudly. But inside Agatha's world, there was only quiet reading. She lived in the middle of a busy community, but her heart was still with her books. The evening breeze entered their house gently, moving the curtains like soft clothes dancing. Agatha's lamp was on, and she bent her head closer to her book to see clearly. Her mother finished folding clothes and placed them neatly on the chair. She walked to Agatha and said, "You have been reading since morning, this girl. Stand up and stretch your body, eh?" Agatha stood up and stretched her arms. "I feel fine, Mama. Good, her mother said. Now come and eat before the food gets cold. They sat at the table and ate together quietly. The food was warm and sweet, and Agatha enjoyed it even though she was tired. After eating, her mother asked, "Are you going to continue reading?" Agatha smiled. "Just small, Mama." Her mother laughed. "You and this small. Your small is never small, Aggie." Agatha giggled. "I promise I'll sleep early." Her mother nodded. "Good girl, tomorrow you will help me at the farm." "I will, Mama." That night, Agatha lay on her small bed. She could hear distant drums from the village square. People were practicing for the Christmas festival. The drums were loud and joyful, but Agatha did not stand up to watch. Instead, she whispered to herself, "I must keep studying. I want my future to be bright." She smiled softly as she closed her eyes. The sound of drums faded slowly in her ears. The cool December wind passed through the window gently touching her face. The moon outside shone brightly over the peaceful village. Christmas was coming. Joy was spreading. Food was cooking. Music was playing. But Agatha remained focused on her books, at least for now. The richest family in the village, the Ozos, returned from abroad on Agatha's 16th birthday. That morning began like any normal day in Obinepa. The sun rose slowly and gently, painting the sky with soft orange light. The breeze blew through the tall trees, making the leaves shake happily, as though welcoming the day with excitement. Birds flew from tree to tree, singing loudly. Some villagers had already swept their compounds, while others were setting water on fire to prepare breakfast. Nothing strange was happening at first. Children chased one another around. Women arranged vegetables in baskets, and men discussed farm work while resting their weight on long hoes. But then, a loud sound came from the main road. It was not a normal village sound. It was the heavy engine of a car, so big that even the goats in the village stopped chewing grass. The sound grew louder and louder until finally people began to turn their heads. One woman shouted, "Who is coming with this kind of motor this early morning?" Another man dropped the bunch of plantain he was carrying and said, "This is not the sound of our normal cars, eh? This one is from outside the country." Within a few seconds, villagers began running to the roadside. Some wiped their hands on their wrappers. Some cleaned the sweat on their faces. Some children ran barefoot, shouting excitedly. Even the village dogs began barking as if announcing the arrival of a king. Soon, the first car entered the village. It was large, shiny and spotless, the kind of car you only saw in movies. The sun bounced off its body, making it glow like something made of silver. Behind it came a second car, also large, followed by a third. All three cars looked expensive, taller and wider than most cars the villagers had ever seen. A man standing by the roadside shouted, "It is them! It is the others! They have come back!" Women immediately began screaming happily. Some clapped their hands. Some lifted their wrappers and tied them tighter around their waist, wanting to look neat for the great arrival. Men stood straighter, adjusting their shirts. Children jumped excitedly as if Santa Claus himself had entered the village. The Ozos were known everywhere. In the whole of Obinepa, they were the richest family. They lived abroad, traveled often, and only returned during Christmas season. Every time they returned, the whole village felt it. It was like a king coming back to his kingdom. The world seemed to stop for them. The villagers rushed towards the open square where the cars had stopped. People pushed gently, trying to get a good place to stand. Everyone wanted to see clearly. Everyone wanted to catch a glimpse of the famous family. The first door opened and Chief Ozo stepped out. He was a tall man with a round stomach that pushed his shirt forward like a proud drum. His skin was smooth, his beard neatly trimmed, and his clothes were the kind you only saw in big cities. He wore a wristwatch that shone brightly in the sun that people squinted when they looked at it. He had the look of someone who had money, plenty of it too. Some people even whispered that he had more money than sense because he spent freely without thinking twice. As soon as he stepped out, the villagers started greeting him loudly. "Welcome, Chief! You have returned home again. God bless your journey. We missed you, Chief." Chief Ozo laughed loudly, waving as he greeted them back. My people," he said with joy in his voice. I am happy to see you all again. His voice carried through the crowd, and the villagers cheered. Children giggled and pointed. Women smiled proudly, and men nodded with respect. The second door opened, and Mrs. Cecilia stepped out. As soon as she appeared, the crowd became quieter, not from fear, but from admiration. She was a beautiful woman with soft, gentle eyes. Her clothes were classy but simple, the type that showed elegance without loudness. She walked gracefully, her footsteps calm, her smile warm. Even the way her hair was packed showed she had styles. Good morning, everyone, she said kindly, waving. The villagers answered with excitement. You're welcome, madam. We greet you, ma. God bless you, ma. Some girls even whispered to each other. She looks like a queen. Another one whispered back. Her skin is shining like oil. I want to be like her one day. Mrs. Cecilia bent down slightly to greet some elderly women. She touched the heads of a few children lovingly, and the mothers almost fainted from joy. Everyone liked her. She was the kind of woman who made everyone feel special just by smiling at them. Then, the next door opened, and their children stepped out. First came Collins. He was 24, tall, broad-shouldered, and handsome in a calm way. His skin was clear, his clothes neat, and he walked with a gentle confidence. He looked like a young man who had everything working for him: education, money, and good upbringing. When he stepped out of the car, some girls in the crowd gasped loudly. One whispered, "Oh my God, look at him. He's even finer this year." Another said, "If he looks at me twice, I will faint." They giggled, covering their mouths shyly. Collins smiled politely as he greeted people. "Good morning, everyone," he said softly. "Thank you for welcoming us." Then Adobe came out of the car. She was 21, beautiful, tall, and elegant. Her clothes were stylish, and she moved like someone trained in etiquette. Her smile was bright, and her laughter sounded like bells. When she waved, the boys in the crowd tried to act calm, but some of them almost tripped over themselves. One boy whispered, "She's like a princess." Another whispered, "Princess? She's more than a princess. She's like 10 princesses in one." Adobe laughed as she greeted the villagers. She had a friendly spirit, always ready to talk to anyone, whether old or young. The others stood together, looking like a family out of a magazine photograph. The sunlight touched their clothes and made them shine. Their perfume spread gently through the air. The villagers stared at them as if they were royalty. Then, suddenly, just as always happened every year, the gift giving began. Chief Ozo raised his hand and shouted, "My people, Christmas has come again, and as usual, I have bought things for everyone." The crowd screamed in happiness. The workers who came with the family opened the boots of the cars, and immediately gifts began to fly out. There were large bags of rice, folded wrappers of different colors, vegetable oil containers, cartons of noodles, packets of salt, and even small envelopes of money. The village became noisy with joy. "Give me one. I am here. Thank you. God bless you, Chief. Madam, thank you. Let my child get all rice, please." One woman caught a wrapper in the air and hugged it to her chest like a treasure, shouting, "Ah, I have been blessed today." A man caught a bag of rice and lifted it high, dancing on the spot. Children jumped around trying to collect biscuits and sweets. One child shouted, "This is the best day ever." Another one shouted, "I got 2 sweets. I'm rich today." People laughed, clapped, and moved around in excitement. The village square looked like a celebration ground. Everyone was smiling. Some villagers almost fainted from too much joy. Others placed their hands on their heads in amazement, saying, "God, see blessing, oh." The others continued smiling, waving, greeting, and giving. They moved through the crowd slowly, shaking hands, touching shoulders, and speaking kindly to everyone. Mrs. Cecilia smiled at a group of old women and said, "How are you all doing? I bought something small for you." The women replied with shaky voice, "Thank you, my daughter. You will never lack." Collins greeted some boys standing near a tree. "How is school going?" he asked. The boys answered shyly, "It is fine, sir." Adobe bent to greet a group of children, saying, "Let me see your beautiful faces. You all look so cute." The children laughed loudly, almost falling over each other. Everything looked magical. Obinekpa had transformed. The decorations, the crowd, the excitement, the cars, the gifts, and the elegance of others made the village look like a different world. It felt like the place you saw in foreign Christmas movies. People even said the air smelled sweet, as if joy itself was floating all around. Truly, Obinekpa turned into a mini London that day. And that was how the richest family returned to the village on Agatha's birthday, sending waves of celebration through the whole community and making everyone talk about them for the rest of the day. Agatha was out in the bush fetching firewood. The morning sun was already bright, shining through the trees like long golden fingers. The ground was covered with dry leaves that made soft sound whenever she stepped on them. Birds hopped from branch to branch above her head, singing loudly as if they were announcing the arrival of something great. The air smelled like fresh soil, mixed with scents of wild plants. It was peaceful, calm and quiet, the kind of morning where a person could hear their own thoughts clearly. Agatha bent down to pick another bundle of dry sticks. She arranged them neatly beside the pile she had already gathered. She wiped her forehead with the back of her hand and took a small breath. She was strong for her age, used to this work. She came to fetch firewood often, and she had become fast at it. Even now, her movements were smooth and steady. But suddenly, the peace of the bush ended. From far away, she heard someone screaming her name. Agatha! 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 The voice grew louder, closer, and more dramatic with every shout. Agatha straightened up slowly and turned her head. She saw her friend Chiamaka running towards her from the narrow footpath between the trees. Chiamaka was running with so much speed that she looked like someone being chased by a mad goat or a cow that escaped from a barn. Her arms were flapping everywhere, her slippers were almost falling off, and dust rose behind her feet. Agatha blinked in surprise. What is wrong with this girl? She whispered to herself. Chiamaka got closer and closer, still shouting, Agatha! Agatha! Agatha dropped one stick, put her hands on her waist and waited. When Chiamaka finally reached her, she bent down holding her knees, breathing heavily like she had just finished running a marathon. Agatha frowned slightly but was calm. Chiamaka, what happened? Why are you running like a chicken that saw hot pepper? Chiamaka raised one finger to ask for a moment. She breathed in and out loudly. Let me breathe first. She continued panting like she was about to pass out. Agatha shook her head. Talk now. You are shouting my name as if something is burning. Chiamaka finally stood up straight, pushed her hair back from her face, and screamed the news as if she wanted the entire forest to hear. The others are back. Agatha blinked twice. Then she looked down at her firewood and said calmly, Is it my business? Chiamaka widened her eyes so much that she looked like someone who had just seen a ghost. Is it your business? Agatha, are you the only person in this entire village who is not excited? Everyone is screaming, everyone is running, everyone is shaking like they won a lottery, and you are here fetching firewood and asking if it is your business? Agatha bent down again and picked up another stick. Yes, she said simply, it is not my business. Chiamaka opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again, and then placed her hand dramatically on her forehead. God, this girl will not kill me, she groaned. How can the richest family in this whole community, the family that people talked about every year, come back from abroad and you behave like someone told you the village goat gave birth? Agatha smiled a little but did not look up. I didn't see how their return affects me. Chiamaka moved closer, waving her hands around. Agatha, people are dancing. Villagers are dancing. People are shouting. People are wearing their best clothes just to go and look at them. Some people are even sweeping their front yards twice because they want to look neat when the others pass by. Do you know how big their cars are? Do you know the gift they brought? Agatha stood straight again and held one stick in each hand. That is good for them, she said with a plain face. Chiamaka made a loud sound like, ah, and put her hands on her hips. Agatha, talk true. Are you sure you are alright? Did the sun touch your head this morning? Agatha laughed softly. I am fine, Chi. You are not fine, oh, Chiamaka insisted. You cannot be fine and still talk like this. Do you know what the girls in this village are doing right now? They are polishing their skin. They are brushing their hair. They are trying to walk nicely so that if any member of the Ozo family sees them, maybe, just maybe, their life will change. Agatha rolled her eyes gently. I am not those girls. Chiamaka threw her hands into the air. We know. We all know. You are Agatha, the queen of books. The girl whose best friend is her notebook. The girl who can solve mathematics faster than she boil water. Agatha smiled. You are not serious. I am serious, so Chiamaka said loudly. Everyone is excited except you. How can the whole village be shaking like a festival is happening and you are behaving like nothing special happened? Agatha tied a firewood bundle with rope. Because to me, nothing special happened. Chiamaka gasped again. Nothing special? The Ozos came back from abroad. Abroad, though, Agatha, abroad. Not the next village, not the next town. Abroad, like outside country. Agatha chuckled lightly. The same soft, calm laugh she always made when she thought her friend was being dramatic. Chiamaka continued. Agatha, let me ask you something. Don't you want a rich man one day? Don't you want someone tall, handsome, smelling like imported perfume to come and say, hello, Agatha, in a deep, sweet voice? Agatha lifted her bundle of firewood and balanced it on her hip. No, she said plainly. Chiamaka almost fell to the ground. No? What do you mean no? Agatha shrugged. I told you before, I don't want to date anyone until after uni. Chiamaka stared at her in disbelief. Even if the man looks like a movie actor, yes. Even if he's tall and fine and has a car that looks like a moving house, yes. Even if he smells like imported perfume that costs more than someone's farm, yes. Chiamaka shook her head slowly. This girl is not from this earth. Agatha laughed again while walking toward the path that led out of the bush. I just want to focus on my studies. I don't want distractions. Chiamaka followed her quickly, still talking. But why? You're 16, yes? But 16 is not too early for small feelings. Agatha raised her eyebrow. Small feelings will not help me pass exams. Chiamaka waved her hand. Life is not only exams, so... For me, it is, Agatha replied. Chiamaka sighed loudly and said, sometimes, I think your brain is made of textbooks. Everything inside you is book. Agatha smiled. I like books. I know, Chiamaka groaned. We all know. If people walk past your house at night, they hear you reading. If they come early in the morning, they still see you reading. If someone dreams about you, they probably see you holding a book in the dream. Agatha shook her head gently. Stop exaggerating. I'm not exaggerating, no, Chiamaka insisted. One time, I saw you crossing the road while reading. I thought a motorcycle would hit you. Agatha laughed loudly. I was not reading. I was checking something. You were reading, Chiamaka said, pointing at her accusingly. Your eyes were in the book. You didn't even look up. Agatha adjusted the firewood on her shoulder. Okay, maybe. That one time. Chiamaka folded her arms. Let me tell you something. If one of the Ozo boys, Collins, for example, walks up to you right now and says, hello, Agatha, what will you do? Agatha answered immediately. I'll greet him and continue my day. Chiamaka screamed again. Continue your day? Like, continue your day? Do you know how many girls in this village want him to just look at them once? If he stands beside someone, that girl will forget her own name. Agatha laughed. That's their problem, not mine. Chiamaka shook her head slowly. Agatha, if stubbornness was a person, it would be you. Agatha smiled calmly. I'm just focused. They continued walking through the narrow path, stepping over branches and dry leaves. The sun was rising higher now, making the forest feel warmer. A gentle wind blew through the trees, lifting Agatha's head slightly. Chiamaka walked beside her, still talking non-stop. Let me tell you what happened in the village when the Ozos arrived, she began dramatically. Agatha sighed softly. Here we go. I am serious, Chiamaka said. People were running, women were dancing, men were greeting. It looked like a festival. Agatha adjusted her load. Okay. Not okay, Chiamaka insisted. It was big, very big. Some people almost fainted. Agatha raised an eyebrow. Faint? Why? Because money and excitement are powerful, Chiamaka said, widening her eyes. And the way those cars were shining. You need to see them. Big, beautiful, smooth and clean. Even the tires were shining. Agatha shrugged. A car is a car. Chiamaka placed her hand on her chest again. God, give me strength. Agatha, nothing moves you. Agatha smiled. Books move me. That's exactly the problem, Chiamaka said. They reached the open road, leaving the bush behind. Agatha continued walking calmly with her firewood. Chiamaka rushed to walk beside her again. Let me ask you, Agatha, Chiamaka said. Why don't you care at all? And don't tell me book. Agatha looked at her friend and said, because I have a plan. I want to finish school and I want to enter university. I want to get a good job. I want to take care of my mother. Dating will come later. I'm not in a hurry. Chiamaka sighed deeply. You talk like someone who is 40 years old. Agatha laughed. I talk like myself. Chiamaka shook her head. Fine, continue. When love catches you one day, I will remind you of this conversation. Agatha smiled again. A small, calm, confident smile. That day will be after university, she said simply. Chiamaka looked at her, looked at the firewood on her head, looked at the scattered dry leaves on the ground, and finally said, You are impossible. Agatha chuckled gently and continued walking. And that was why the whole village was shaking with excitement, joy, and celebration because of the other's grand return. Agatha, queen of books, Miss Future University student, acted like nothing special was happening at all. To her, studying was more important than getting excited over rich people. She told her friend Clary that she would not date anybody until after uni, even if the man was tall, even if he was fine, and even if he smelled like imported perfume from another continent. After dinner that evening, the house was quiet. The sun had already gone down, leaving the sky a deep calm blue. Night had wrapped itself around the village of Obinepa like a soft blanket. The stars were beginning to appear one by one, like tiny lanterns lighting the sky. The breeze outside was cool, moving through the trees gently, making the leaves whisper to one another. It was the kind of evening that made people feel peaceful, the kind of evening where families sat together and talked about their day. Inside the small but neat house where Agatha lived with her mother, the warm smell of food still floated in the air. Agatha and her mother had just finished eating their simple dinner. The plates were empty now, pushed slightly to the side of the wooden table. The oil lamp in the corner of the room shone softly, giving the living space a gentle glow. Agatha sat on one side of the table, wiping her mouth with the edge of her wrapper, while her mother poured both of them water to drink. They sat quietly for a moment. Agatha drank her water slowly, enjoying the coolness of her tongue. She felt full and relaxed. It had been a long day of chores, reading and helping her mother as usual. She was thinking about finishing one last topic in her school book before going to bed when her mother looked at her with a thoughtful expression. Aggie, her mother said softly. Agatha looked up. Yes, Mama. Her mother placed her cup on the table carefully and wiped her hands on her wrapper. Then she leaned back slightly and looked at her daughter with a serious but gentle face. My dear, she began slowly. Dress well tomorrow. We are going to the other's mansion. Agatha blinked. For a moment, she thought she didn't hear correctly. She sat still, holding her cup halfway to her mouth. Going where, Mama? She acted surprised. The other's mansion. Her mother repeated clearly, nodding her head as if the words were not strange at all. Agatha lowered her cup and stared at her mother with wide eyes. She was not expecting that, not even a little bit. The other's mansion. The same others whose return made the entire village shock with excitement. The same others who were richer than everyone else put together. The same others who lived abroad and came home in cars that looked like small moving houses. The same others who had a compound bigger than most of the village combined. Agatha's mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. Her mother, noticing her shock, laughed quietly. You had me well, her mother said. Tomorrow morning, you and I will go there. Agatha slowly placed her cup on the table and sat up straight. Her mind suddenly felt like a pot of boiling water. She could not understand why her mother wanted to go to the other's place, and especially why she wanted her to dress well. But, Mama, Agatha said carefully, why are we going there? What are we going to do? Her mother smiled in a proud, almost playful way. Because, April said, I have already advertised your brain to Mrs. Cecilia. Agatha almost choked on her own breath. Advertised what? Your brain, her mother repeated proudly. I told her how brilliant you are, how serious you are with your books, how your teachers praise you, how you solve mathematics faster than some grown people, how you never joke with your education. Agatha covered her face with her hands for a moment and groaned softly. Mama, Why did you do that? Her mother laughed and shook her head. Why not? Do you think I will hide my intelligent daughter? Never. I told her everything. And do you know what she said? Agatha looked at her mother carefully. What did she say? She said I should bring you. The mother answered, smiling widely. She said they might have something for you, maybe scholarship blessing. Agatha's heart jumped. The word scholarship was like gold to her ears. It was a word she had dreamed about many times. A scholarship meant opportunity. A scholarship meant school without worry. A scholarship meant a bright future without heavy financial problems. A scholarship meant her mother would rest more. But even with all of that, Agatha felt nervous. The Ozers were a big family, important, wealthy, stylish. They lived abroad. They spoke softly and smiled like people who had seen things her village had never seen. Going to their mansion was not a small matter. Agatha looked down at her hands and said quietly, Mama, are you sure? Her mother laughed again, shaking her head. Of course, I am sure. Why would I not be? My daughter, let me tell you something. When God opens a small door for you, you must enter quickly before it closes. If the others want to see you, you must go. They are good people. They help people every year. Maybe this time they will help you with your school. Agatha nodded slowly, still unsure. She knew her mother meant well. She knew her mother believed in her intelligence more than anyone else. She knew her mother was always praying for a breakthrough for her. But the idea of going to the mansion of such a wealthy family made her stomach twist a little. Tomorrow morning, her mother continued, you will wear your best dress. You will comb your hair nicely. You will walk beside me with confidence. When Mrs. Cecilia asks you anything, you will answer clearly. Don't be shy. Agatha sighed softly. Mama, I don't even know what to expect. Her mother smiled. Just be yourself. You are a bright girl. You don't need to pretend. Agatha rested her chin gently in her hand. She imagined the big mansion with its large gates and shiny windows. She imagined the clean tiled floors, the beautiful furniture, and the people walking around in neat clothes. She imagined Collins and Adobe walking through the hallways like royalty. She imagined the whole place smelling like imported air freshener. She swallowed slowly. Her mother noticed her silence and asked gently, Are you scared? Agatha shook her head a bit too quickly. No, Mama, I'm not scared. I'm just thinking. Her mother nodded. It's normal, but don't worry, everything will be fine. Agatha tried to smile, but inside her heart, a small voice whispered, Hope, they won't send me to sweep London. The thought floated around in her head like a stubborn fly. She imagined herself in a giant foreign city, holding a broom taller than her whole body, sweeping roads as wide as football fields while cars flew past her. The image made her blink fast. Her mother watched her with amusement and asked, What are you thinking about? Agatha forced a smile. Nothing, Mama. Her mother laughed. You cannot hide your thoughts from me. Your eyes were saying something else. Agatha lowered her head shyly. Mama, what if Mrs. Cecilia wants me to do work? What if she says they need people to help them and send me to another place? What if... Her mother interrupted with gentle laughter. Will you stop imagining things? Nobody is sending you anywhere. We are going so they can see you. So they can know your potential. If God touches their hearts, they may decide to help your education. Agatha nodded slowly. She took another sip of water and tried to calm her racing thoughts. She knew her mother was right. She knew there was nothing to fear, but still, the idea of stepping inside the mansion of such a wealthy, well-traveled family made her nervous. Her mother stood up from her chair and began clearing the table. Agatha watched her for a moment before also standing up to help. They picked up the plates together and took them to the kitchen area. The sound of running water filled the room as they washed the dishes. As they walked, her mother continued talking softly. Aggie, you should be grateful. Many children wish for these kinds of opportunities. When I told Mrs. Cecilia about you, she was impressed. She said she likes girls who are serious with school. She said education is important. She said she wants to meet you. Agatha dried her hands on the clothes and placed the washed plates on the rack. Did she really say that? Yes, her mother said firmly. She said you must come. So behave well tomorrow. Don't talk too fast. Don't talk too slow. Don't look down too much and don't look up too much. Just be normal. Agatha smiled. Mama, you're confusing me. Her mother laughed loudly. I'm not confusing you. Just behave like a respectful child. I will try, Agatha said. Good, her mother replied. They finished the kitchen work and moved back to the small living area. The lamp still burned softly, and the night outside was getting deeper. Crickets chirped loudly in the darkness. Somewhere far away, a baby cried briefly before becoming quiet again. Her mother sat down on the edge of her bed and began folding some clothes. She picked out a neat dress from the pile and held it up. "You can wear this one tomorrow," she said. "It fits you well." Agatha nodded. "Okay, Mama." Her mother placed it carefully aside and continued folding. After a while, she spoke again. "Aggie." "Yes, Mama. You know I love you." Agatha smiled softly. "I know. And everything I do is for your future." Her mother continued gently. "Your father is not here, but I am here. I want you to succeed. I want you to become someone great. I want you to reach places I could not reach." Agatha felt her throat tighten a little. "I will try my best, Mama." Her mother nodded. "That's all I ask." The house became quiet again. Agatha walked to her bed and sat down, thinking deeply. She imagined the next morning. She imagined wearing her dress, combing her hair, and walking with her mother to the mansion. She imagined standing in front of Mrs. Cecilia, trying not to be nervous. She imagined the possibility of receiving a scholarship. She imagined her mother smiling proudly. But somewhere in the middle of her thoughts, the same small voice returned. "Hope they won't send me to work." She shook her head, trying not to laugh at herself. Her imagination was turning wild. Her mother noticed her smiling to herself and asked, "What is funny?" "Nothing, Mama," Agatha answered quickly. Her mother raised an eyebrow. I know that look. You are imagining things again." Agatha giggled. "Maybe." Her mother smiled warmly. "Go and sleep. Tomorrow is a big day." Agatha stood up and walked to blow out the lamp. The room became dim, lit only by moonlight entering through the window. She climbed into bed and pulled her wrapper over herself. Her mother lay down too, adjusting her pillow. "Good night, Mama," Agatha said softly. "Good night, my daughter," her mother replied. Agatha closed her eyes, but her thoughts refused to rest immediately. Over and over, the thought whispered in her mind again. "Hope they won't send me to work." She finally sighed and let sleep take her, and the night passed quietly. The next day would come with whatever it brought. The next day, Agatha and her mother reached the large gate of the Ozos mansion early in the morning. The sun was still rising, shining with a soft golden light that made everything look calm and beautiful. The air smelled fresh. Birds were flying from tree to tree, singing loudly as if they too were greeting the mansion. The mansion itself stood tall and proud, with long white walls that sparkled when the sun touched them. The gate was big, iron and painted black, with shiny designs that looked like something a rich king would own. Even the flowers outside the gate looked richer than normal flowers. They stood tall, bright and freshly watered, as if someone pampered them every morning. Agatha swallowed as she looked at the gate. She had never been close to a place this big before. The walls looked like they reached the clouds. The compound stretched so far that she could not even see where it ended. Her heart beat a little faster. She felt small, very small. Her mother looked at her and smiled gently. "Don't be afraid, just walk with confidence," her mother said. Agatha nodded, even though she did not feel confident at all. She felt like someone entering heaven by accident without the right clothing. The security man at the gate opened it as soon as he saw them. He was tall, neat, and dressed in a clean uniform. He greeted them politely. "Good morning, Ma," he said to Agatha's mother. "Good morning, young lady." "Good morning," Agatha answered softly. "Madam Cecilia said she's expecting you," the security man added. Agatha's mother smiled proudly. "Thank you." He stepped aside and allowed them to walk in. The moment Agatha stepped inside the compound, she froze. She had never seen anything like it in her entire life. The ground was covered with smooth tiles that shone like polished mirrors. The flowers were arranged in perfect lines, like soldiers standing at attention. There was a water fountain in the middle of the compound, with water shooting up gracefully and falling back with soft, calming sounds. The building stood high and wide, painted white and gold, looking like a mansion she had only seen in movies or on posters in the city. Everything looked too beautiful, too perfect, too expensive. Agatha felt her breath catch in her throat. "Mama, this place is so big," she whispered. Her mother laughed softly. "Yes, my daughter, very big." Agatha nodded slowly, her mouth hung open slightly as she continued to look around. Her legs felt weak, her heart felt too fast. She felt like her whole body had forgotten how to behave normally. She was walking, but it felt like she was floating. Her mother touched her arm lightly. Walk properly, she whispered. Agatha tried. Together they approached the front door. It was tall, made of dark polished wood, and decorated with golden handles that shone like the sun. The steps leading to the door were so clean, Agatha felt shy stepping on them. Her mother knocked gently. The housemaid opened the door. She was neatly dressed and had a friendly smile. Welcome, ma, she said. Madam Cecilia is inside. Please come in. Agatha's mother thanked her and they stepped inside. But the moment Agatha crossed the doorway, her entire world paused. Because right there, standing not too far away, was Collins. Collins, the son of Chief Ozo. The same Collins the whole village talked about. The same Collins girls admired secretly. The same Collins whose return made half of the village act like their hearts had melted. He stood near a table looking down at something in his hand. He was tall, so tall that Agatha felt like she needed a ladder to reach his shoulder. His skin was smooth and bright. His hair was cut neatly, looking soft and fresh, and his clothes, they fit him perfectly, making him look like someone who had just stepped out of a magazine. And the smell, oh, fresh air. It filled the whole room softly, floating toward Agatha as if carried by the wind. The moment she saw him, her brain stopped working. She did not blink, she did not breathe, and she did not move. Her legs forgot they were legs. They felt like sticks, useless sticks. Her arms hung by her sides like she had lost control of them. Her mouth opened a little and she stared at him as if he was not a human being but an angel, shining and smelling like heaven. She forgot she came to the mansion for a reason. She forgot who she was. She forgot everything she ever studied. Her whole body, her whole mind became empty except for one thing, Collins. He looked perfect, so perfect that Agatha felt something strange in her stomach, something that made her feel like she had swallowed butterflies. Ah! She heard her mother say beside her, Agatha, walk now. But Agatha did not hear. Her ears were working, but her mind had shut down. Her eyes refused to move away from him. She stood stuck like a statue. She did not know if it was 1 second or 1 hour. Time became useless. Her mother leaned toward her and whispered firmly, Agatha, behave yourself. Agatha still did not respond. So her mother did what mothers do when a child forgets their senses. She tapped. Hard enough, Agatha jumped slightly, blinking fast, finally remembering the world around her. Oh, Mama, sorry, she whispered quickly, her heart racing. Her mother shook her head and whispered, don't embarrass me. Agatha straightened herself, forced her eyes away from Collins, and looked at the door. Her cheeks burned with embarrassment. She felt like the air around her was hot, even though the mansion was cool. The housemaid led them into the men's sitting room. The room was bright and large, decorated with golden curtains, shiny floors, soft couches, and paintings hung neatly on the walls. A big chandelier hung from the ceiling, shining like a small sun inside the house. In the center of the room stood Mrs. Cecilia. She looked even more elegant than the day before. Her dress flowed gently as she turned, and her smile was warm, so warm that Agatha's nervousness reduced a little. Welcome, Mrs. Cecilia said, stretching out her arms. You're welcome, my dear sister. Agatha's mother rushed forward and curtsied slightly. Good morning, ma. Good morning. Mrs. Cecilia replied kindly. She turned to Agatha with a bright smile. And this must be your daughter. Agatha forced herself to look up. Good morning, ma, she said softly, bowing her head slightly. Mrs. Cecilia walked to her gently and looked at her with admiration. Such a beautiful girl, she said warmly. No wonder her mother speaks so proudly of her. Agatha felt her heart beat faster, not out of fear this time, but from the surprising kindness in the woman's voice. Mrs. Cecilia held her hand softly. Your mother tells me you are a very smart girl, she said. Agatha nodded shyly. I try, ma. Mrs. Cecilia laughed softly. Trying is good. Working hard is good. I like girls who take their studies seriously. Agatha's mother beamed with pride. She reads every day, ma. Morning, afternoon, night, though. She's reading. Mrs. Cecilia nodded approvingly. That's how it should be. Agatha's eyes flickered briefly towards Collins, who was still standing in the background. He had lifted his head now and was looking in their direction. The moment their eyes accidentally met, Agatha's breath caught again. She quickly looked away before her brain shut down for a second time. Mrs. Cecilia guided them to sit on one of the couches. The cushions were soft, so soft that Agatha felt like she was sinking into them. She sat carefully, her hands on her lap, trying to appear calm. They talked about school, they talked about Agatha's grades, they talked about how hardworking she was. Mrs. Cecilia asked gentle questions and smiled warmly at every answer. She spoke with a kind of kindness that made people relax. Even Agatha's mother, who had been nervous earlier, now talked freely. But Agatha was not relaxed. Every few minutes, her mind drifted back towards the young man she had seen. His face refused to leave her thoughts. Even when she tried to focus on Mrs. Cecilia's words, the image of Collins kept floating behind her eyes. His perfect smile, his neat hair, tall figure, his soft, expensive cologne, his calm posture. She had seen handsome boys before, but none like him. He looked like someone from another world, someone who did not know anything about suffering or struggle, someone who walked lightly, lived softly, and breathed wealth. Whenever she remembered how she stared at him earlier, she wanted to hide under the couch. She prayed silently that no one noticed how frozen she had been. She hoped Collins had not seen her staring like a confused person. She tried to keep her face straight. Her mother continued the conversation with Mrs. Cecilia, thanking her for the opportunity to visit. They spoke for a while about school, about Agatha's dreams, and about her determination to succeed. Mrs. Cecilia smiled warmly again and said, "I am happy to meet you, Agatha. I can see you are disciplined and respectful. That is good. That is very good." Agatha lowered her head shyly. "Thank you, ma." After a while, the visit ended. Mrs. Cecilia stood up, hugged Agatha's mother lightly, and placed her hand on Agatha's shoulder. "Keep studying," she said. "Good things come to hardworking children." Agatha nodded again. "Yes, ma." The housemaid escorted them out, but as Agatha stepped out of the mansion again, her heart felt heavy, not with fear, but with something she did not know how to explain. She walked beside her mother quietly as they left the compound. Her mother seemed excited and proud, but Agatha was silent. That night, after dinner, after bathing, after saying goodnight, Agatha lay on her bed with her eyes wide open. The mosquitoes were quiet. The room was peaceful. The night breeze was cool, yet she could not sleep. Because Colin's handsome face had rented space in her mind, and it refuses to leave. No matter how tightly she closed her eyes, she saw him again. No matter how she tried to think about school, his smile returned. No matter how she turned on the bed, her mind kept replaying the moment she first saw him. His face, his scent, his clothes, his calm posture. Her heart whispered quietly, "Who is this boy? And why can't my brain rest?" She tossed, she turned, she sighed, she stared at the ceiling. She tried counting numbers 1 to 100. She tried thinking about her school subject. She tried thinking about food. She even tried thinking about firewood. Nothing worked. Her heart beat softly but steadily, carrying one thought with it, Collins. And that was how Agatha spent her night, not because mosquitoes refused to let her rest, but because the handsome face she saw at the mansion had entered her thoughts like a visitor who did not plan to leave anytime soon. The next morning came bright and early. The sun was rising slowly, painting the sky with soft orange and pink colors. Birds were singing loudly outside, as if announcing that a new day had begun. Agatha woke up, still feeling the heaviness of the previous night. She had hardly slept because Collis's face was floating in her mind like a picture that refused to fade. She turned on her bed, rubbed her eyes, and sat up slowly. Her mother had already left for the farm. The small house was quiet. Agatha washed her face, brushed her teeth, and warmed some leftover food for breakfast. But she did everything slowly because she was tired. Her mind was still wandering. Every few minutes, she would shake her head, trying to remove Collins from her thoughts. But he kept returning like a stubborn shadow. After eating, she tied her wrapper and stepped outside to sweep the compound. The weather was cool, and the wind carried the salt smell of morning. As she swept, she kept replaying the moment she saw Collins the day before. The way he looked, the way he stood, the way she froze like someone whose soul had taken a short holiday. She remembered how embarrassed she felt when her mother tapped her. She shook her head again. Let me not think too much, she whispered to herself, but her heart refused to obey. After sweeping, she decided to visit Chiamaka. She walked down the familiar road that led to her friend's house. Along the way, she saw villagers going about their normal routines, women heading to the market, men heading to farms, and children playing in open spaces. Everything looked normal, but inside Agatha, nothing felt normal. She reached Chiamaka's house and knocked loudly. Chiamaka, it's me. Chiamaka's voice came from inside. I'm coming, wait. A few seconds later, the door opened and Chiamaka appeared, rubbing her eyes sleepily. You came early, she said, yawning. Agatha didn't even wait. She pushed past her friend and walked inside the room with her hands flying everywhere as she talked. Chiamaka, let me tell you what happened yesterday. Chiamaka blinked and shut the door, watching Agatha with confusion. Why are you talking like a radio that somebody turned on too loud this morning? Agatha didn't stop. She started pacing the room, waving her hands, shaking her head, almost tripping over his stool. Chiamaka, you won't believe it. I saw him. I saw Collins, Chiamaka. I saw him with my own two eyes. Chiamaka raised an eyebrow. Calm down. Who is him? Ejo Gabriel? No, Collins. The other son. The fine one. The tall one. Agatha almost screamed. Chiamaka's eyes widened. Eh? You saw him? Did he talk to you? Agatha stopped pacing and placed her hand on her chest dramatically. Talk? No, he didn't talk. I just saw him and my brain stopped working. Chiamaka burst into laughter, so loud that she bent forward, holding her stomach. Ah, my friend, your brain stopped working. So you became empty like a bucket without water? Yes, Agatha shouted. Completely empty. My legs forgot how to stand. I just stood there staring at him like someone who saw a miracle. Chiamaka laughed harder. I wish I was there. You would have embarrassed yourself. Agatha covered her face with both hands. I already embarrassed myself, Chiamaka. My mother had to tap me back to life. Chiamaka threw herself onto the bed, laughing uncontrollably, kicking her legs. That means your mother was like, Agatha, come back, come back. Exactly, Agatha said, her face red. It was so shameful. Chiamaka sat up and wiped tears of laughter from her eyes. So, what did he look like? Describe him well. Agatha took a deep breath. Chiamaka, he was, yes, Chiamaka said eagerly. He was perfect, Agatha whispered. Chiamaka pressed her lips together to stop herself from laughing again. I mean it, Agatha insisted. He's tall, his skin is smooth, his clothes are fine, his perfume smells like heaven. When he stands, the air changes. Chiamaka burst out laughing again. You have fallen, though. You are falling like a tree pushed by a strong wind. I thought you said you would not fall in love. No, I've not fallen, Agatha said quickly. I'm just saying what I saw. Chiamaka leaned back. You have fallen, Olga. Agatha pointed at her. Stop teasing me. I came here to tell you because I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about him. Chiamaka gasped loudly and held her cheeks. You are finished though. Like you're a finished person. I'm not finished, Agatha cried. You are finished, Chiamaka said again. If his face kept you awake, that means your heart has entered trouble. Agatha covered her face again and groaned. I knew you would tease me like this, Chiamaka laughed. Of course, what are friends for? Agatha sat on the bed and sighed deeply. At least, now I know that he's real and not something people exaggerate. He's even finer in real life. Chiamaka hissed playfully. Better focus on your studies, Madam Future University graduate, or have you forgotten? I will, Agatha said weakly, though her mind was far from studies at that moment. They talked for almost an hour, without Chiamaka teasing her non-stop, and Agatha trying to defend herself. After a while, Agatha stood up to return home. You better calm your mind before you see him again, Chiamaka said, waving. Agatha shook her head. I will see him again. They are rich. We live in different worlds. Chiamaka smiled mischievously. Life is funny. You never know. Agatha walked home, thinking silently. Hours passed. She helped her mother cook and fetch water. By afternoon, the sun was high in the sky, bright and hot, making the road shimmer as she walked toward the small shop near the market to buy soup. She walked slowly, thinking about nothing in particular, when suddenly she heard the sound of a car approaching from behind. The engine purred smoothly, not harsh like normal village cars. It was the kind of smooth sound rich cars made. She turned slightly. Her heart jumped. It was Colin's car. A shiny black car with clean windows and tires that looked brand new. It moved slowly beside her and then stopped. Agatha froze. The window rolled down. And there he was, Collins, looking even finer than yesterday. His face calm, his hair neat, his eyes gentle. He smiled softly. "Hi," he said. Agatha felt her heart melt like hot wax. She swallowed. Good afternoon," she whispered. He nodded. "Good afternoon. You're Agatha, right?" Agatha blinked. He knew her name. Her legs nearly felt her. "Yes," she said softly. Collins glanced at the road ahead and then back at her. "I saw you walking. Are you going far? I can give you a lift." Agatha felt heat rise to her cheeks. Nobody had ever offered her a lift before, not like this, not from someone like him. I, I'm going just a little far," she stammered. "It's fine," he said with a smile. "Come in, I will take you." Agatha stood still for a moment. Her whole body felt like Jerry. She could not believe this was happening. Was she dreaming? Was she sleepwalking? Was she in the wrong world? Collins waited patiently. "It's okay," he said kindly. "I don't mind." Agatha finally opened the door and entered slowly, sitting on the soft, clean seat that felt like a pillow. The inside of the car smelled expensive, like flowers mixed with fresh mint and soft wood. She held her hands tightly in her lap, afraid to touch anything. Collins started driving gently. "So, where are you going?" he asked. "The market area," Agatha replied quietly. Collins nodded. "All right." He drove slowly, not rushing, not making her feel uncomfortable. After a moment of silence, he asked politely, "How is school?" Agatha blinked. "School is fine. I try to study a lot." "That's good," he said with a smile. "Education is important." Something inside Agatha relaxed a little. So, she started talking and talking and talking. It was like a tap opened inside her. She told him everything about the village. She told him who farms cassava. She told him who sells gari. She told him which families fight over land every year. She told him which woman always shout at her goat. She told him which man refused to repair his roof even though rain beat him every night. She told him about the children who chased chickens in the evenings. She told him about the market woman who lied about her fish size. Collins did not complain. He did not frown. He did not look bored. He listened kindly. He nodded gently. Sometimes he laughed softly. Sometimes he asked small questions. He made her feel comfortable in a way she could not explain. Agatha talked until she realized she might be talking too much. She covered her mouth suddenly. "Sorry," she said quickly. "I talked too much." Colin shook his head. "No, it's okay. I like hearing about the village. I grew up here, but I have been away for many years. It's nice to know what's happening." Agatha smiled shyly. When they got to the market, he decided to wait. She bought what she wanted to buy, and he decided to drive her home. When they reached her house, she opened the door slowly. "Thank you," she said, her voice soft. "Thank you very much for the lift." "You're welcome," Collins replied warmly. "Take care." Agatha stepped out. She closed the door carefully and watched him drive away. The sun shone on the car, making it gleam as it disappeared down the road. She stood in front of her house for a long moment, holding her chest. "God, what just happened?" she whispered to herself. She finally entered the house, still dazed, still smiling, still replaying every second in her head. And from that day, something changed inside her. She found herself finishing chores faster than usual. She swept quickly, she cooked fast, she fetched water early, she washed plates with speed. And when she was free, she walked to the Ozzo's mansion. Sometimes, she helped the housemaids clean. Sometimes, she assisted in the kitchen. Sometimes, she arranged flowers. Sometimes, she just swept small corners. Before anyone asked, she already started helping, and the Ozzo's liked her for it. They thanked her kindly, they smiled at her, they welcomed her warmly. And Agatha, quiet, shy, book-loving Agatha, found reasons to return every single day. Just to be near the place where Collins lived, just to breathe the same air, just to feel close to him in her own small way. Agatha had now become a familiar face at the Ozzo's mansion. Every time she appeared at the gate, the housemaids smiled, some waved and others greeted her warmly. They liked her because she was respectful, hardworking, gentle, and never behaved like someone who wanted trouble. She helped quietly, moved quietly, and laughed softly. Even the workers admired how humble she was. But there was someone else in the mansion who admired her even more, Adobe, the daughter of Chief Ozzo. Adobe was 21, tall, beautiful, and full of style. She moved like a princess who had gone to finishing school. Her clothes were always neat and expensive. She wore soft perfumes that smelled like flowers people had never seen before. And even though she looked like someone who belonged in a big city, she had a warm heart. She liked Agatha from the first day. One afternoon, when Agatha came to help clean the sitting room, Adobe walked in holding a small pile of clothes. They were colorful, neatly folded, and looked brand new. Agatha stood quickly and greeted her. "Good afternoon, ma." Adobe laughed. "Don't call me ma. I am not your mother. Just call me Ada." Agatha smiled shyly. "Good afternoon, Ada." Adobe sat on the soft chair and studied Agatha with a gentle eyes. "You work so hard. Every time I see you, you are cleaning something or helping someone. You are always doing something useful. You remind me of myself when I was your age." Agatha's eyes widened slightly. "Me? Yes, you." Adobe chuckled. "You are simple, calm, and you don't pretend. I like that." Agatha felt a warm feeling inside her chest. Being praised by Adobe felt like being praised by a queen. Then Adobe lifted the clothes she brought. "These are for you," she said, stretching them forward. Agatha froze. "For me?" "Yes," Ada said with a smile. "Take them. They no longer fit me, but they are still good. I think they will look pretty on you." Agatha could not move for a moment. She stared at the clothes like they were treasures made of gold. She looked at Adobe, unsure if she heard correctly. "You mean I should take them?" she asked quietly. "Yes," Adobe laughed again. "Take them before I change my mind." Agatha finally stretched her hands and collected the clothes slowly, as if they were fragile things that might break if she held them too fast. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you so much." "You are welcome," Adobe replied gently. Agatha held the clothes close to her chest, like someone hugging a new baby. Her whole body felt light, as if she had suddenly grown small wings. Her steps were soft, almost floating. She felt like she was walking on clouds. No one had ever given her clothes this beautiful before. No one had ever treated her with such kindness. She kept smiling to herself so much that one housemaid asked her, "Are you alright?" Agatha nodded quickly. "I'm fine, very fine." In her heart, she felt happiness dancing around. If joy had legs, it would have been running inside her chest. Later that day, when she returned home, she carefully laid the clothes on her bed one by one. She touched them gently, admiring the colors, the patterns, the softness. She even held one dress against her body and imagined how she would look wearing it. She smiled a long smile and whispered to herself, "I don't believe this." That night, before sleeping, she folded the clothes with so much care they looked like something sacred. When she finally lay down, she hugged her pillow tightly and said softly, "Thank you, God." She slept with joy in her heart. The next day at the mansion, she walked with a brighter mind, a lighter step, and a confidence she did not have before. Adobe smiled when she saw her again. "You look happier today," Ada said. "Yes," Agatha replied shyly. And from that moment, the friendship between them became even stronger. But something else was growing inside Agatha, something different, something confusing, something wrong, her feelings for Collins. She didn't tell anyone, not even Chiamaka, how much she thought about him now. Every time she swept the mansion tile, her mind went to him. Every time she arranged flowers, she wondered about him. Even when she heard footsteps behind her, she secretly hoped it was him. Sometimes, she saw him from a distance, walking through the hallway, sitting in the living room, talking on the phone, or drinking water near the kitchen entrance. And every time she saw him, her heart performed small somersaults. But she never gathered courage to speak to him, never. Her heart always ran ahead of her, leaving her body behind. She would freeze, blush, or pretend to be busy when she wasn't. But one day something changed. It was late afternoon. The weather was warm but calm. A gentle breeze flowed through the mansion compound, carrying the smell of fresh flowers and clean water from the fountain. The sky was bright and the sun was beginning to soften, preparing for evening. Agatha had finished helping Adobe arrange the clothes in her wardrobe. Adobe had gone inside to make a phone call, leaving Agatha free to step outside for fresh air. Agatha walked into the mansion garden. The garden was quiet. Flowers of all colors stood proudly in different corners: red roses, white lilies, purple orchids, and bright yellow sunflowers. There were trimmed bushes, smooth stone pathways, and wooden benches placed under tall shady trees. Then, just as she took another step, she saw him, Collins, sitting alone on one of the benches. He was leaned slightly forward, holding his phone in his hand. The sunlight fell gently on his face. His posture was relaxed. His clothes were neat as usual. His hair looked freshly brushed. He was the picture of calm beauty. Agatha froze. Her heart jumped into her throat. This was the first time she saw him alone, completely alone. No one beside him, no one talking to him, no one distracting him. Her breath caught. This is my moment, she whispered to herself. She looked down at her shaking hands. Her heart began to beat faster like drums during Christmas festival. For a moment, she nearly turned back. Her mind screamed, run, run away, you are not ready. But then something inside her whispered softly, try, just try. Agatha took a deep breath. She wiped her palms on her skirt. She walked slowly toward the bench. Each step felt heavier than the last, as if the ground was trying to hold her back. She reached the bench. She stood beside him. He did not look up yet. Her heart was jumping like a trapped animal. She swallowed. Good afternoon, she said softly. Collins lifted his head slowly. He looked directly at her. His eyes were calm, warm, gentle, and that alone made Agatha's knees weak. Good afternoon, he replied with a polite smile. How are you? I'm fine, she stammered. He nodded once and returned his eyes to the phone, still scrolling. He did not seem uncomfortable. He did not send her away. He just stayed there, calm, peaceful. Agatha took that as a sign. She sat beside him, not too close, not too far, but close enough to feel her heart shaking inside her chest. For a moment, neither of them said anything. Agatha looked at the flowers, pretending to admire them while stealing small glances at his face. She inhaled his soft colon and felt her stomach tighten. She breathed slowly. Then she whispered to herself, say it now before you lose the chance. She turned to him. Her voice came out very small. I want to tell you something. Collins looked at her again. What is it? Agatha's heart dropped to her feet, but she pushed the words out. I like you. The silence that followed was louder than thunder. Collins blinked once, then twice, then a third time, so hard it almost looked like his eyelids got stuck. Agatha felt her blood freeze. She waited. He blinked again. She swallowed. He blinked again. Agatha thought, is he entering another dimension? Did I break his brain? Collins finally spoke. How old are you? Agatha looked at him confused. 16. I just turned 16. Collins stared at her. His expression changed from surprise to seriousness. He inhaled deeply. Then he sat up straight and looked at her with the eyes of someone giving fatherly advice. You are still young, he said gently. Very young. Focus on your studies. Agatha's mouth opened slightly. She did not expect that, not even a little. He continued calmly. You have time. You have a future. Work hard. Read your books. This is not time to think about liking someone. Agatha stared at him in disbelief. She felt heat rising to her face. Her hand dropped like a stone thrown into a deep well. Collins stood up slowly. Take care, he said in a calm, elder-like voice. Then he walked away without looking back, without saying anything else, without giving her hope. Agatha remained seated, still, silent, shocked. Her heart felt tight. Her chest felt heavy. Her face felt hot. Her eyes burned. She whispered to herself, did he reject me? She blinked fast. This early in my life, heartbreak already. She pressed her lips together. She looked down. She felt embarrassed, offended, confused. She had rehearsed the words in her mind many times. I like you. She thought it would sound magical. She thought he might smile. She thought something nice might happen, but instead, she got advice, strong advice that felt like a slap wrapped in kindness. She sat there for a long time, staring at the flowers without seeing them. Her stomach twisted. Her heart felt like someone squeezed it. She whispered again, so, this is heartbreak. This is too early, too early. A tiny tear rolled down her cheek, but she wiped it quickly so no one would see. She stood up slowly, walked away from the garden and tried to breathe normally. But her mind refused to forget. Her first attempt at love ended in a soft but painful rejection. And she did not expect heartbreak this early in life. December 24th arrived quietly, wrapped in soft morning light. The sky was bright and clear, the air fresh, the village roads busy with people preparing for Christmas Day. Everywhere Agatha walked, she saw women sweeping their compounds, men carrying goats or chickens, and children running around in excitement. The whole community felt alive. as if the earth itself was smiling. But inside Agatha, things were not so bright. She had not forgotten what happened in the garden days ago. Colin's words still sat inside her chest like a stone. Focus on your studies. She tried not to think about it. She tried to convince herself it didn't hurt. She tried to act like everything was normal. She even tried to laugh when Chamaka told silly jokes. But late at night, when she lay in bed and stared at the ceiling, the memory returned again and again. Still, she pushed herself forward. Life had to go on, and today, Adobe had asked her to come to the mansion and help with some Christmas preparations. Agatha dressed in one of the clothes Adobe had given her days earlier. The dress was soft, neat, and colorful. When she looked in the mirror, she almost didn't believe it was her reflection. She looked prettier, more confident, more grown. She tied her hair neatly and applied a little coconut oil to make it shine. Agatha, she whispered to herself, trying to gather courage. Today is only work. You are not going there to see him. You are going to help Ada. But deep inside, she knew a small part of her heart hoped to catch even a quick glimpse of Collins, just to see him, even from far away. Even if he didn't talk to her, even if he didn't look at her, even if he never remembered what happened. She told herself she didn't care. But she did. She cared too much. She walked to the mansion, trying to keep her steps steady. Her heart beat softly but not too fast. She breathed slowly, trying to remain calm. When she reached the gate, the security man greeted her politely and let her in. The mansion was decorated beautifully for Christmas. Red ribbons hung on the walls, golden ornaments sparkled near the windows, and Christmas lights wrapped around the pillars glowed softly. The fountain in the middle sprayed water that caught the sunlight, making it look like diamonds dancing in the air. Everything looked peaceful, rich, and elegant. Agatha stepped into the compound, holding her small handbag close to her side. Adobe came out almost immediately. Agatha! Adobe called happily. Agatha smiled and walked toward her. Good afternoon. You look lovely today, Adobe said warmly. That dress suits you so much. Agatha blushed. Thank you. Adobe held her hand. Come inside. I need help with some things in my room. Agatha nodded and followed her into the mansion. They walked through the long hallway decorated with Christmas flowers and shiny ornaments. Adobe's room was large and neat. Clothes were arranged everywhere because she had been selecting what to wear for Christmas Day. I need help sorting this, Adobe said. Some things need to be folded, some need to be arranged in the wardrobe. Agatha smiled. No problem, I will help. Both girls began folding clothes, laughing lightly as they walked. Adobe talked about school abroad, about her lecturers, about her friends, and about how she loved coming home for Christmas. Agatha listened excitedly, imagining what life outside the village must look like. Everything seemed normal, peaceful, comfortable, until it happened. The soft sound of footsteps came from the hallway. Agatha thought nothing of it at first. People walked around the mansion all the time, but the footsteps grew closer. Slow steps, gentle steps, elegant steps. Adobe looked toward the door casually, then a shadow appeared, then a figure. Then a tall, beautiful lady stepped into the room. She was wearing a long-fitted dress that hugged her body perfectly. The fabric shone softly under the room light. Her skin looked smooth and bright. Her hair was long, shiny, and styled neatly. Her face was beautiful, the kind of beauty that made people stop talking for a moment. She wore soft makeup that highlighted her features. Her lips were painted a gentle pink. Her eyes looked warm and confident, and her smile was soft. Agatha froze instantly. Right behind the lady, Collins appeared. He walked in quietly, wearing a simple but elegant shirt. His presence filled the room the moment he stepped in. He looked more handsome than the last time she saw him, as if time was polishing him every day. Agatha's heart dropped to the floor. Adobe turned to Agatha slowly, almost in slow motion. Then she leaned closer to Agatha's ear and whispered softly, That's Sapphire, his fiancée. Agatha felt her heart break. Not crack, not bend, but collapse completely, like a biscuit dropped into water, soaking, dissolving, disappearing. For a moment, she forgot to breathe. She forgot where she was. She forgot how the world worked. Everything inside her chest squeezed painfully. Her stomach twisted. Her throat tightened. Her hands shook. Her legs became weak. Fiancé? 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 The words repeated again and again in her mind, each time cutting deeper. Sapphire turned to smile at Adobe. "Hey, Ada," she said sweetly. "I thought I heard your voice." Adobe rushed to hug her. "Welcome. You came earlier than expected." "I missed you," Sapphire said, hugging her back. Colin stood by the door watching them. Agatha did not move. Her mind was still drowning. Her breath was stuck in her throat. Her heart beat hard, too hard, beating like someone knocking on a closed door. Adobe and Sapphire continued talking excitedly, but Agatha had nothing. She only had the pieces of her heart falling one by one. She kept her head down, pretending to fold a dress, but her fingers were cold, stiff, and trembling. She tried to swallow the pain, but it sat in her throat like a large stone. Sapphire laughed again. Her voice was soft and sweet. Even her laughter sounded expensive. Standing beside Collins, she looked perfect, like a picture printed in a rich person's magazine. And she was his fiancée, his chosen one, his future wife. Agatha forced herself to look once more at them. They looked perfect together, too perfect, like a prince and princess in a fairy tale that did not include her. Sapphire walked toward the window, admiring the decorations. Collins looked around the room briefly, and his eyes fell on Agatha. She quickly looked away. Her face burned, her chest ached. Her whole body felt small, very small. Adobe called her softly. "Agatha, please hand me that scarf." Agatha nodded quickly and passed it with shaking hands. Sapphire turned and noticed her. "Oh, hello," Sapphire said gently. "I didn't see you before." Agatha forced a weak smile. "Good afternoon." "You're helping Ada? That's so sweet," Sapphire said warmly. "Thank you," Agatha whispered. But inside her heart, she felt like a house collapsing. A part of her wished she could disappear instantly. A part of her wished she could walk out and never return. A part of her wished she never confessed anything to Collins. A part of her wished she never developed feelings at all. Sapphire smiled again and returned to talking with Adobe. Collins stood quietly, then stepped out of the room. Agatha exhaled shakily. Her chest felt heavy, her throat tight, and her eyes hot. She continued folding clothes, but the edges of the fabric blurred as her eyes filled with tears she refused to let escape. She blinked fast. She swallowed hard. She took deep breaths. She kept telling herself, "Do not cry here, do not cry here. Don't embarrass yourself. Hold it, hold it, hold it." When she finished helping, she excused herself politely. "I need to go home," she whispered. Adobe looked at her concerned. "Are you alright?" Agatha nodded quickly. "Yes, I'm fine. I'm just tired." Adobe hugged her lightly. "Thank you for helping." Agatha forced a smile. "You're welcome." Then she walked out of the mansion. She walked past the flower garden, past the fountain, past the shiny towers, past the front gate. She kept walking. Fast, faster. Her vision blurred. Her throat burned and her breath shook. When she reached a quiet corner of the village road, far from anyone's eyes, her legs stopped, her chest heaved. Her eyes filled completely. A tear fell, then another, and suddenly the tears poured out freely, deep, painful, quiet tears. She did not wail loudly. She did not scream. She cried silently, like someone practicing for a movie role. Tears flowing without sound, falling like rain into the dry dust beneath her feet. She covered her mouth with her hand, her shoulders shaking gently, her heart hot. Hot in a way she had never felt before. Fiancé. The word refused to leave her mind. She leaned against a tree, holding her chest as if trying to keep her heart from falling apart completely. Minutes passed, the sky began to darken. The cold evening wind touched her wet cheeks. She wiped her face with her wrapper. She took a deep breath. One more, and then she walked home slowly, quietly, lost, hurting deeply. That night, when she lay on her bed, the tears returned again. She buried her face in her pillow so her mother wouldn't hear. She cried silently, her chest shaking softly, because her first love broke before it even started. Her heart collapsed like a soaked biscuit, and she didn't expect pain like this at 16.